Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
and he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
What did I just watch? Folks, I've been around the world to Scandinavia and back with my family to open summer break. I get back and we have a whole new intro with like Beavis and Butthead riffs and cool highlights and great guests. And that made me like tear up a little bit. We've come a long way. But man, we're back. I'm glad to be here. We got a lot going on for you guys. One, it's just good to see my buddy Sterling Holmes here. Sterling, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's been way too long. New intro, no more mustache, new background. You missed a lot, my guy.
I need to leave more often. I hate to see you go, but I love to watch me leave. I don't know how that works out here, but you know what I'm saying. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. Surprisingly, with the Chiefs in the middle of June, we've got some Carlos Dunlap news going on. We got Chris Jones saying he's sick. We'll get to all the news in just a second. Then also, last year was an incredible year for the rookies. And really, the rookies kind of carried the team to the Super Bowl alongside the stars. So it made sense for us to look at this year's rookie crop and maybe what we expect from them. So that's what's coming up on today's episode. Of course, we'll have a must list. Maybe I'll tell you about Scandinavia. Maybe I changed my name to Scandinavia. Maybe I met a guy named Stan. Anyway, but before we do anything, let's get into the news. And also,
whoa. Pump the brakes. Before we get to the news, we have news for all of you listeners. If you go to Caesars Sportsbook, use code ARROWFULL. Get your first bet on Caesars up to $1,250 on any sport. Again, Caesars Sportsbook, code ARROWFULL. First bet on Caesars up to $1,250 on any sport. This offer is only available for new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer. And if you already have a Caesars account, you can head to arrowheadaddict.com/bets to find more betting offers and ways to support the podcast.
Folks, well, that was good, by the way. You do that so well. You just have a nice panache when it comes to. By the way, I missed the mustache. Speaking of ash and things, what made that just decide to clean?
Today, it was actually, I've done some work today, and I was like, this stash is driving me insane. It's too hot. It's too thick. My mustache was thick with about 3 C's, and it was just too much. So I shaved that bad boy off. My golf trip's over. It had to go. It was time.
I get it. That's how the Chiefs have felt about some particular players this spring and summer. The question is, are they going to feel that way about every veteran pass rusher? First up on our news list, folks, with Jeff Fedotin, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, reporter for Forbes magazine, got to sit down with former Chiefs defensive end Carlos Dunlap, who actually came out in the piece with some word that maybe things weren't all the way done. And I just want to read the quote here. Carlos Dunlap says this. He says, I can help another team get one of their own. He means a championship, or help the Chiefs again. The Chiefs haven't ruled that out. Okay, so clearly right there, he's saying that his agents are telling him it's not a closed door on the team side. But then he said, but currently it's a waiting game. Then later on in the piece, he says, the Chiefs obviously have a special spot for me because they were the first team to help me win a playoff game and to win a Super Bowl. So that would be a great opportunity. Now, before we get into Dunlap in particular, Sterling, I'd love to ask you just for me, the defensive end position is that a really interesting, like there's a lot of young talent there. Like the Chiefs put 2 draft picks in the top 5 rounds. They, of course, grabbed FAU in the first round. They grabbed B.J. Thompson out of Stephen F. Austin in the 5th round, which adds, they still have Josh Kando and Malik Herring around. They allowed Frank Clark to hit free agency, and then he goes to the Broncos. My question to you is, do you think that one more makes it too crowded? Like, I guess before we talk about Dunlap as a guy, is it worth even adding a guy at this point, or do you let the kids play it out?
I'm fine either way, which I know is not a hot take at all. It's kind of boring. The reason why I like Carlos Dunlap is because the beginning of the season is where we will see him have the biggest impact. FAU, I've been saying time and time again, it takes rookie edge rushers about half the year to really start getting a feel for it. I actually had a chance to sit down with Karlaftis, and he kind of said, yeah, it's a growing period, right? It takes a long time. FAU, I expect the same thing to happen. You saw it with top prospects like Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, and George Karlaftis last year. I would expect the same thing with FAU. Half the year, you're kind of getting your footing. Second half of the season, you really start popping off. Charles Omenihu, what's going to happen? Is he going to get suspended? If so, is the beginning of the year? How long is it going to be? So I'm not worried long-term about the Chiefs' edge rusher situation, but the beginning of the season, I have a little bit of concern because you're probably looking at Mike Dana and Karlaftis as these starters, but you don't have a whole bunch of depth that you trust, at least early on, if, again, all dependent on Charles and what happens there. So I do like Carlos Dunlap for that reason. Dunlap's also a guy you don't have to give a ton of snaps to. Looking at his snap count last year, he was anywhere from 17 in week 2 to playing 54 snaps in week 16 against Seattle. He kind of hovered anywhere around the 20s and 30s most of the season. He was relatively productive the whole year. He wasn't exquisite, right? He wasn't just a phenomenal player, but he was good. His PFF ranking was 66.4 overall, and actually he was better in the run defense part of the game, clocking in at 71.5. I do think Carlos Dunlap still brings something to the table, and again, you don't need him to be a starter, and quite frankly, at this point in his career, I think he understands that as well.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. No one here's talking starter reps. No one here's talking the future of the franchise. I think we get that it's rotational. I like what you're talking about in terms of run defense too. Dunlap's not a guy who's going to embarrass you at any level. He's got a high floor. He's going to perform adequately. The bottom's not going to fall out there unless like Father Time has something to say about it, in which he really shouldn't be playing anyway. And he'll probably, like, if he has a game like that, he's going to get a quick release and the door will be closed there, probably for good. But, my question is, like, you said that Karlaftis says, hey, it's got to, it takes a long time to learn. But Karlaftis was also able to learn because he had snaps from week 1, like starting snaps from week 1. And I like Omenihu and I like Dana as the 2 guys behind the 2 rooks. And I'm left going, I don't know that you need a 5th. I don't. I'm not against a 5th. I just, I'm okay with that being B.J. Thompson and him learning too in more limited reps, knowing he's the longer term project. But to me, I'm looking at 2024 going, I think Anudike-Uzomah and Karlaftis deserve every chance of becoming the 2 cornerstones there for the next few years. And you got to give a guy time in the trenches to get comfortable in the trenches. Dunlap sounds amenable to it. He's open. He sounds like the Chiefs are also open. It'll be interesting to see, like the Chiefs could regret waiting or they could regret signing. It's an interesting quandary to me. The position's at that tipping point, and not all positions are that sort of confusing.
It'll probably be a while before he signs either way. He doesn't want to go through the BS, the long days. He doesn't want to go to St. Joe's and the heat and do all that stuff. he knows who he is at this point. He will keep himself in good shape. I'm not worried about that. So if you're waiting for Carlos Dunlap to sign anytime soon, I would say don't hold your breath. I will also point out, is that Carlos Dunlap signing right now as I'm saying that? Because that would be just picture perfect.
I mean, yeah.
So is how it works. You're always like, he's not going to sign forever. Okay, breaking news as we get off this show. He just signed.
I'll say this as a side note on Dunlap. I always liked Dunlap as part of those Bengals teams that never could go anywhere because he was just such a steady, professional, productive player. And he's been in the league 13 years and won his first playoff game last year, right? Like just a long stretch of misery. And then he's finally able to earn that. I don't know. I almost wish for his sake that, like on that personal note, I guess I wouldn't mind seeing him back on board just to like load it up in the last part of his career after such a long time of really not seeing any of that postseason glory. Yeah. Anyway.
A couple cool questions I want to get to in the chat. James Jones says, hey, I had a question. I'm a Washington fan. Do you guys like Eric Bieniemy? Yeah, Eric Bieniemy was a part of a couple of Super Bowls. You can't be upset by the results. Eric Bieniemy, I think what he's already done in Washington, I like how he's not taking any bleep. If you're not going full effort at all times, sit your ass down. I like that. I think Eric Bieniemy and Washington, they're going to have a nice little marriage up there. I will also say Chiefs Kingdom 710 asks, Matt, what do you think about Frank going to Denver? We need the answers. I talked about it the past previous week. I'll let you hit on this really quickly. What do you think of Frank Clark going to Denver?
It hurts my heart, dude. I mean, I love Frank. I love the Shark. I think he would have been worth bringing back. To me, he's the guy worth bringing back. Like, forget all the candidates. It's when you're talking about Frank, it wasn't about, oh, do we bring back a guy or not? It's like, do you bring Frank back or not? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes again. Because that's the case, I got to look at Denver and go, hey, great signing. Great signing to add a guy who is known for helping to put a team over the top in the biggest moments. If Denver can somehow play it closer this year, not just with the Chiefs, but with a lot of opponents, if Sean Payton can make a difference in that way, it takes a few small things and then suddenly you're winning in the league. And, Denver's been miserable. And I'll say this too. I'll say two things here. One, I never fault a player for finding a place to play. I just can't. The Chiefs clearly were out or didn't have enough money or didn't offer enough money or whatever it was. I can't fault a player for finding a place to play, period. But two, the AFC West, and I think this is the more important one, the AFC West is boring as hell. Boring as hell. The Chiefs have look, we're making a mountain out of molehills with the Bengals these days because there's no good rivalry. There's none. So we're searching elsewhere for someone to rise up and, hey, can you talk trash? Because we're bored. Can you talk trash? Because we're bored. Can someone entertain us, bread and circus, please, Roman Empire style, so that we can like actually be entertained in the off season between dynasty like results. So if someone in the AFC West could go, yo, I'll make things interesting, I'm all in. I'm all in on the Broncos playing it close. I'm in on the Raiders trying to get tough. I'm all in on the Chargers following through on preseason predictions. I mean, not because I want to see the Chiefs lose, but because I love the days when AFC West games were nail biters, and we just haven't had a good rivalry at all in the division. So if Frank Clark helps Denver that way, I mean, it's a smart signing for them. I love Frank. I'm glad to see him extend his career. I don't want to see Denver win, but I'd love to see Denver more interesting.
Yeah. All right. Was Chris Jones listening to Disturbed? Because apparently he was down with a sickness, and that's why he wasn't at the Super Bowl ring ceremony. Does that ease your mind just a little bit, knowing that that's why Chris Jones missed, and it wasn't because of a contract situation? Again, I think a deal gets done. I'm not worried, but does this at least alleviate a little bit? That 1% of you that's like, okay, now we have a reason.
There wasn't a 1% of me that was even remotely where I could care less if Clark Hunt was at the ceremony to open the Super Bowl rings. Yeah. Were you worried? Were you taking attendance?
No, I was not, but I was a little bit just perplexed because that seemed like it was right down his alley. Chris Jones, ring ceremony, a party. That feels like that's Chris Jones. I didn't think there was anything nefarious going on. I didn't think there was any like, oh, I'm holding out, so I'm not going to show up to this. This was probably my best guess, and he was sick. So
yeah,
we know now. And again, there wasn't even 1%, but it's nice at least seeing the reason why he was not there. So Chris Jones was sick.
The only downside to that was that probably we missed a very entertaining Twitter post if Chris Jones had been there. Like it would have been like he would have had some sort of fun post for us on Instagram or some movie or some jokes or something. That's all we missed out on. I'm not worried about it. Chris Jones is going to be a Chief for life. Like there's no way around it.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
By the way, I notice our AA swag shop where you can pick up cool paraphernalia that has to do with Arrowhead Addict. Maybe we got a mug in there. Maybe we got a shirt in there, a sweatshirt or a hoodie in there. Our swag shop is live and you can get 20% off your order. I'm just bringing this up because the code this week is Matt Week. That's all caps Matt Week. We should also give you a bonus if you spell it WEAK because all of my jokes are also weak that way, but that's all right. Use Matt Week. It expires this Sunday. Get 20% off. Yeah, get a little bit of AA gear, right?
Yeah, you have to.
You got to.
You have to.
Have to.
Come on, we've had people get mugs. We got coffee mugs. We got pint glasses. Any type of liquid you want to drink,
all in.
We have a canister for you.
All in. All right, let me ask you this. Pete Prisco, CBS Sports, longtime CBS Sports writer, came out today with his top 100 players for the 2023 NFL season. The Chiefs landed 5 on the list. 1, I wanted to see if you could guess which 5 and in which order.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, I wanted to see if you thought a 6th deserved to be on the list. Let's start with your 5. Can you name the 5? Have you already looked?
I've not looked yet. So I'm going to go Mahomes 1. That seems like a fair bet. Okay. So Mahomes will only write it down just to make sure.
Yeah.
Mahomes.
You got to write that down. So, because 5 is a little complex to get to.
Well, no, I'm going to guess the spot too. You ask, give me time. So I know Chris Jones will be on the list and I know Travis Kelce will be on the list.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and say, I bet Creed Humphrey is on the list.
Okay.
And I will say, so it's going to come down to Joe Thuney and L'Jarius Sneed. I think the NFL will probably go with Joe Thuney. I feel like we love L'Jarius Sneed and we understand the value he brings, but I don't know if the national media is quite there with L'Jarius yet. So I'm going to guess my 5 that who you said Pete Schrager?
Pete Prisco.
Pete Prisco. I'm going to guess Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis, Creed, and Joe.
Okay.
I'm going to guess in the order of Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones 3rd, Creed 4th, Joe 5th.
You would be absolutely correct. Dude. Give this man another drum head to put in his background. Give this man a mustache.
Need one right there, baby.
Give this man a mustache to I don't know. You look great without it too. We don't need to give him anything. Anyway, let me ask you this though. Some people out there were like, "Oh, the Chiefs got robbed, only having 5 of the top 100, even though there's 32 teams in the league." Do you think there should be a 6th there?
Yeah, I have to go through the list. I would say L'Jarius Sneed is probably on the cusp. Again, we in Kansas City, we understand L'Jarius Sneed and the value he brings. He's not a traditional lockdown corner, right? So it's not Jalen Ramsey. It's not Darius Slay. He's not your traditional outside corner. And I think that's a knock and used against him. But I always like to think he's more valuable than like a Tyrann Mathieu. I don't think safeties, again, this is my opinion, I don't think a great safety is as valuable as a great corner. Cornerbacks, to me,
Wow.
I think they're worth more. I think you don't see safeties transitioning to cornerback. You see cornerbacks transition to safety. That's my thought process behind it. I'm not saying that L'Jarius is better than Tyrann Mathieu in his prime. That's not what I'm trying to get into. I'm just saying in general, I think L'Jarius needs more love from the national media. That's all I'm saying. He's a great tackler. He does everything well. Again, I just think the knock against him and why he's not as well known is he's not playing on the outside predominantly. Even Charvarius Ward, whatever your thoughts are, I love Charvarius Ward. I think the reason why he started to get more love was because he was playing on the outside. You saw him consistently going up against other teams' wide receiver one. You very rarely saw it with L'Jarius Sneed. You saw it against, was it DK Metcalf? He did that again against L'Jarius Sneed where he traveled with him.
Sure.
I believe it was that game, but you don't see that very often. I would have L'Jarius probably in the top 100, but it'd probably be in the very back end, but I'd have to take a little look at 90 through 100.
And you would keep Tooney on your list?
I would keep Tooney on my list. He'd be, again, probably in the 80s, if I had to imagine. If I was doing this list, I'd probably have Mahomes 1, Travis Kelce, I'd probably put around 5 or 6.
Okay.
Chris Jones, I'd probably, just this is me spitballing here. Chris Jones, I'd probably put around 15 to 20. Creed Humphrey, I'd probably put around 40. Tooney around 80-ish, and then Sneed around the 90s.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty generous list. I mean, it's a good list, but yeah, that's the Chiefs are loaded. I guess that's why you win the Super Bowl. It'll be interesting to me just to talk other names real fast. You have Nick Bolton, who I think is in orbit around the outside of the list. I think Trent McDuffie with a full season could be mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Townsend, despite being a punter,
Yeah.
if he's an all-pro there.
Let me guess, only one special teamer? Was it just Justin Tucker?
I don't know. I didn't look.
Okay.
Maybe Pacheco.
I'm not going there.
All right.
Sorry, man. Especially if we're talking positional value. I don't know how they broke it down, but obviously I think the QBs are top 3. Also, Richard, shout out to you. We're embracing Matt Conner's horrendous joke. So apparently, if you use the code MATTWEEK, MATTWEAK, that gives you 21% off. So if you want that other extra 1% in a slam on Matt Conner, there you go.
Take the opportunity when you can.
Are you okay? What is going on with you?
I'm like Cough City over here. I don't know.
Did you bring something back from Scandinavia? What were you doing, man?
I was like, I don't know. Maybe I caught Bjorgård or maybe a Nordjorgen or a Bort. I don't know. No one cares. Anyway, here we go. Well, let's dive into this. Chiefs rookies were out of control last year, right? I mean, I can't remember a year where like Jalen Watson was a 7th round pick and won multiple games himself, right? Like Joshua Williams stepping up, Isaiah Pacheco stepping up, Trent McDuffie looking like a first-round pick, Karlaftis looking like a first-round pick. The promise of Sky Moore coming into this year is going to be – I mean, that class is going to be such a memorable class in Chiefs history already. And they're only like 1 year of experience together. So that said, it made sense to look at this year's draft class and go, can they have remotely some level of the same impact? And so I'd love to bounce this back and forth. There's only 7 members of this draft class. And we'll bring up each player just for the sake of review. But I want to just ask you, as we're heading into a new season, what's your prediction for the actual impact? Not a best case scenario, not a, here's what I think he's going to turn into long-term, but year one, realistic impact based on the makeup of the current roster. That's how we're playing this. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or those are my parameters of the rules I just made up. So let me ask you this. When it comes to FAU, and the Chiefs' newest first-round pick. What are you expecting to see from him in year one?
Rotational piece. I will set the over/under at probably around 4.5 sacks.
Okay.
I'm trying to be realistic here, guys. I'm not going to sit here and say 13 sacks. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like K-State and I like all their fans as much as everyone else. I like FAU, and I think he's going to be great. But let's be real now. He won't have the same opportunity that George Karlaftis had. He's not going to start week one. It's probably going to be if Charles is out, and then it's going to be Karlaftis and Dana. I do think when Charles comes back, he will be the other starter on the outside. Although maybe they decide to use Charles on the inside at times, pair him with Chris Jones. It's going to be a rotational move going on with Karlaftis and Chris Jones. I'd have to imagine being the two stalwarts pretty much the majority of those snaps. He's probably the fourth guy. I think he's going to be behind George, Charles, Dana, and then him. So I like FAU, but again, I don't know if the opportunity is there. Will not be the same opportunity that Karlaftis got last year. Not a bad thing. Karlaftis had to be ready week one. If you want to take a positive about this, he does not have to be ready week one. He does not have to be a starter. That's a great place for the Chiefs to be in. I think he's a little bit more. I think he is NFL ready. But I don't know if he was as NFL ready as Karlaftis was. Karlaftis had that body, right? Karlaftis was already a big boy. I'm excited for him. I'm going to say the over/under at 4.5 sacks for FAU.
Okay. I'm taking the under on that one. I'm taking the under by quite a bit on that one. And I think that's because of this. It's not because of FAU's talent. Everything we said earlier, I think he's going to be fine as a pro. But here's what I think. I also think we saw last year with Karlaftis, the first half of the year was pretty miserable in terms of like the stats you want to see in the box score. And if, as you're right, and I agree with you, if Anudike-Uzomah is not getting starters reps where he can like get better as the season goes on and add the actual stats, then he's probably looking at the first half like Karlaftis was as his full season. So I think we're going to see probably 2 sacks, 1.5 sacks from him. And I don't think anyone's going to no one should slam that. I think everyone's going to look and go, oh, Mike Dana was in a contract year wanting to get paid. And Charles Omenihu was like getting starting reps for the first time outside of San Francisco. And Karlaftis was growing into who he was going to become. So I just don't think there's going to be I think he'll get plenty of opportunity, but I think it'll be, major learning curve there.
I love his comment from Trevor. Sterling would light up a wine black and mild if FAU gets 10 sacks. Dude, if he gets 5 sacks, how about every sack I'll light up a good old black and mild wine tip?
That's good. That's good. I agree with Josh Zylstra. Says my DE rotation is George, Charles, Dana, and then a vet, and then FAU. Boy, that's a low place to put your first round pick. I mean, if Josh is right, we're talking a very, very crowded and talented room. No one should be upset about that. But yeah, Angry Drunken German says FAU will be a better pass rusher. I hope it's not just on nickel. It'll be interesting to see what kind of downs these guys are getting. And again, the Omenihu suspension is going to change things up. By the way, I just got to say, we're looking at some of the comments and engaging there. We'll get to the rest of the rookies here in a second, but as my first time back in 4 weeks, it's good to see you all. So it's nice to even see you in the comments again, see your jokes. I did it. Someone said I probably got a case of the red light district Rona. And I just can't comment on that. I have family who listen to this. So just know some things, folks.
Ludacris was singing.
There it is. Let's move on. Second round pick, wide receiver, SMU, Rashee Rice. What do you think? This is maybe the most perplexing of all to try to predict.
Yeah. Oh man. I like Rashee Rice, but I don't think he's going to have a ton of opportunity as well. I think the pecking order is going to be Kadarius Toney when healthy. I think Sky Moore leads this wide receiver room in receptions. I've been on record saying that for the past few weeks. I'll say it now. I still think Sky Moore takes the biggest leap forward. You're going to see Sky Moore used in that Juju Smith-Schuster role. His hands are just so good. He's so good at getting open. He's not the most athletic guy, but it doesn't matter. I keep comparing him to Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. Man, I think Sky Moore, I'm not saying he's going for a K or anything like that, but Sky Moore, 800 yards, leading this wide receiver room in receptions. I'm all in there. MVS is still going to have a fairly sizable role. I think Richie James is going to get a lot of gadget plays. Now you're down to Rashee Rice. Now you're down to him. How much is left over for that? I don't know how much is left over for that. Again, rookies in this system. Again, it feels like everyone's forgetting about Sky Moore because he didn't show out as a rookie. Yeah. I keep going back to PFF. His PFF numbers, the analytics, if you will, were actually higher than George Pickens. George Pickens just got the opportunity. Give Sky Moore the opportunity. You'll probably see him put up 800-plus yards, which is, again, what I think we'll see this year. Rashee Rice is probably my wide receiver 5, all things being equal. I'd probably set the over-under at, 375 yards maybe. What did Sky Moore go for last year?
He went for like 250.
Yeah, he went for 250. I'd probably say 375. No Juju Smith-Schuster being here, even though I think Sky Moore turns into a player like him. I don't know how much I probably can't count on Kadarius Toney playing all 17 games. That seems like we've not seen it before. So until he shows me, maybe I have him around 14 games, 13 games. I'll say over under around 375 for Rashee Rice.
Okay. Boy, I get all that. I hear all that. I think a little bit higher on that. I think Rice is going to get about 550 yards. I think you're going to see catches between 38 to 42. I think the void left for a physical receiver like Juju Smith-Schuster. There were times in the postseason, especially, where when Travis Kelce somehow wasn't available or when they had to go to someone else and Juju came up big, a couple with some really big plays at some really key times. I just think, there's got to be those contested catch go-to sort of guy, and I think Rice can be that guy at the pro level pretty quickly. So I think it'll be interesting. There's a lot of guys there. I believe in Toney too. I'm like you. I'm not out on Sky Moore. MVS is still around. It's kind of crowded, man. It's crowded without an obvious top, but that floor is so juicy. I think a lot of people are really missing out on the potential of this Chiefs wide receiver room. There are a lot of potential playmakers here, even if the level of proven production is maybe not what has people talking. Mahomes throwing to these guys is going to have everyone talking about him. Yeah. It's just a matter of you just got to get to week 1.
I see Raymond in the chat says Richie's going to be a third down go-to. I'm with you, man. You know my thoughts on Richie James. If you listen to this podcast, you know my thoughts on Richie James. Again, had a chance to talk with him. He loves how difficult OTAs and minicamp all that stuff was. And he was even saying, I see now why the Chiefs are winning. You can see it. It's the mindset. It's the makeup. Man, I am just thrilled for Richie James.
Love it. Do you see him becoming, now that the roster is kind of settled, is he the primary returner?
I don't know, man. I think you're going to see Generic Prince as the kick returner. Punt returner, I don't know. If I had to put money on it right now, I would say Richie James would be the leader in the clubhouse for me, but that still remains to be seen. The thing is, we got to 5 wide receivers deep just right there, and we haven't even talked about Justin Watson, Justin Ross, Amir Smith-Marset, John Ross. There's a lot of depth on this wide receiver room. Again, as you mentioned, no Tyreek Hill, no wide receiver 1, but a plethora of wide receiver 2s, 3s, and 4s.
Yeah. It's going to be the wide receiver competition is just going to be incredible. Let me lead out with this one, or let me ask you this one. Wanya Morris, offensive tackle, Oklahoma, was the Chiefs' 3rd round pick. They moved up to get him, just like they did Rice in the 2nd round. There were lots of trade ups here in the middle rounds, 2, 3, and 4. When they moved up to get Morris, what are they getting in year one?
Before Donovan Smith came here, I thought the plan was Juwan Taylor at left tackle, Wanya Morris at right. We had Tim Grunard on this show. I think you did that show with me, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And remember, he said he talked to his Jacksonville Jags sources. They said they don't see Juwan Taylor as a left tackle. They kept saying, hey, he's going to be a damn good right tackle. We don't see him as a left tackle. That gave me a little cause to pause. They went out and got a right tackle in the draft. I go, okay, but Donovan Smith is here. I don't know the game plan. I don't know if it's a great thing if Wanya Morris is the starter at some point. I don't know if it's a bad thing. If that means Donovan Smith was just that washed up and last year wasn't the aberration. Last year was what he is now. I like Wanya Morris. You and I talked about it. That I think after the draft happened, I said that was my favorite pick. Was Wanya Morris. He was a left tackle as a rookie at Tennessee, a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and he was all freshman SEC as a left tackle. That's great. Then he went to Oklahoma, moved to right tackle. Then he head coach, went to USC, new head coach. So he had 3 different systems in a few short years. Yeah. I know he's not a quarterback, but that's still very difficult for an offensive lineman. That's a lot to get used to. Also moving from left to right. The pedigree's there. The talent and upside we saw at some point showcased through. I like Wanya Morris a lot. I just don't think we'll see much of him this year outside of being a swing tackle. I love the depth, though, of this offensive tackle group. That's what it comes down to. Are they better overall? No Orlando Brown Jr. going back to Donovan Smith. We hope he is. We hope he is. But I think you're lying to yourself if you say, yes, it's a clear upgrade of Smith over OBJ. I don't think that's the case. It's not clear. It could be, but it's not guaranteed. I think there's more risk there. But I like the depth way better this year than last year.
Yeah. Look, Morris is already getting some reps with the ones, swapping in and out on both sides. I like it. And if I was going to pick an upset here at all, it's this one. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Wanya Morris is your starting left tackle for the Super Bowl defending Chiefs in week 1. And it definitely wouldn't surprise me. In fact, I'll just say I would predict that coming out of the bye week, Wanya Morris is your left tackle unless Donovan Smith is putting up a hell of a rebound year. Like if he's pulling a Juju Smith-Schuster, like I'm going to the Chiefs on a 1-year deal to prove I can still do it and then cash back in. If Donovan Smith can do that, kudos to him because that means we're getting good left tackle play.
Yeah.
But I think Morris is going to look more ready than we think. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs have rolled with young linemen. They teach players to get ready very well. Andy Heck is a hell of a coach. They've gone young before and they could do it again. I think 8 starts this year for Wanya Morris at left tackle would be my guess.
Wow. Man, you are very bullish there. And I don't know if that means you're very bullish on Wanya Morris or if that means you're very is it bearish? Are they awesome? Is it the down one, in the stock market? You're very not thrilled with Donovan Smith.
It's not meant to be a knock against Donovan Smith, but I just think, hey, if he's reached his ceiling, hey, if he's got some injury concerns now, if he's not looking as great and Morris can, you take the guy who can grow into that ceiling, knowing you're probably still going to beat opponents while he's growing. I think you just take that if you're Andy Reid. I think this team trusts its coaches to teach the players to be the guys they want them to be long-term. And so they know you got to take the knocks with it. Sean wants to know how high is Scandinavia. It is. Maybe. It's great. Fourth round, Chamarri Conner, defensive back, Virginia Tech. The third of 3 consecutive trade-ups. I mean, they moved up to get Conner, and it was actually a pretty pricey trade-up for the round. It was a future 5th-round pick in 2024 for only 15 spots. What do you think of the latest Is he L'Jarius Sneed 2.0?
The versatility is there, and you saw, I think, at Virginia Tech one year, he had 5.5 sacks. But the difference between L'Jarius and Chamarri is L'Jarius ran a 4.3. Chamarri ran a 4.5. That's a big difference.
Big difference.
Again, I know this one because I always look up Sky Moore. Deontay Johnson ran a 4.5, I believe, as well. And I think a lot of players in the NFL would consider him a very fast player. He's shifty. He's quick. He gets open. Chamarri Conner, maybe he's faster on in actual game action than he is just running a 40. Again, 40 times. Always take him with a grain of salt. Darius Hayward-Bay was very, very fast, but that was all he was. John Ross, for example, he's not done anything in the NFL, drafted 1 pick before Mahomes, and he was known as being like a 4.29 or 4.22 or something crazy like that. Crazy. It doesn't always matter. It doesn't always translate. So I like Chamarri Conner, but I think this year is probably just going to be special teams. This secondary is so incredibly deep. I also think Chamarri is going to be a safety in the NFL. The speed doesn't lend me to believe he's going to be a corner. It was kind of the opposite with L'Jarius. He was quick enough to move from safety to corner and stay there. I don't think Chamarri will. You also have Mike Edwards. You have Brian Cook, who I think takes a massive step forward. You have Justin Reed. You have Deion Bush, I believe they brought back as well. So Chamarri is probably safety 5, if you will. You're looking at a special teamer, a good special teamer, and hopefully you look at a guy who makes it so you don't have to have a Mike Edwards, so you don't have to have a Deion Bush. So he's the third safety on a rookie contract. That, I think, is the Chiefs' goal, a versatile guy. You'll see it in the future, but probably not this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's special teams, nothing more. Maybe some very late season starts due to some injury concerns or something. But yeah, I think we'll see the best from him later, and I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by him for sure, but expecting anything in 2023 is kind of I don't get it. 5th round, BJ Thompson, edge rusher out of Stephen F. Austin University. What do you? This is the developmental prospect, but are we getting anything in 2023?
I know of Stephen F. Austin because of Thomas Walkup. And what year was that? 2014-15 March Madness, when Stephen F. Austin won. Was it 1 game, 2 games? And then they got boned against Notre Dame. It was the big market, March Madness, the big media wanting them to win. It was bull. Okay. It was BS. Stephen F. Austin should have won that game and moved on, but they didn't. And that's why I know what Stephen F. Austin. Also, Hunter Dozier, if you are a Royals fan, Hunter F. Dozier. He was DFA'd, not SFA'd, because he was designated for assignment. But again, I know Stephen F. Austin because of that. I didn't know they had a football team. There, I said it. I did not know Stephen F. Austin had a football team. I see Clinton saying BJ is a former Baylor Bear. Yes, he played for Baylor at one point as well. That was when disaster was going on at Baylor. Then he went to Stephen F. Austin. I'm kind of with Joshua. BJ is also a candidate for a training camp injury. That's a stash, baby. That feels pretty likely. We've talked so much about the edge rushers and the defensive line already. I don't see how much room there is for him. I'm probably more of a fan of him than Joshua Kando. Probably more of a fan of him than Malik Herring. But I think we're all somewhat pretending if we have a great idea of what BJ Thompson is going to be this year. He seems like a very raw player. It's going to take time. He weighs, 235? Yeah. I mean, he's very, very light. But again, that also means you probably bring something a little different to the table. There's your bend. There's your speed. Yeah, it's not going to be a power guy, but I like the thought process of let's bring something different to this defensive line. But I don't think we see anything outside of special teams or, again, maybe a training camp injury this year.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he's a practice squad stash, or is that too risky to make with a 5th-round pick?
Well, that's why I had if you're listening to this and not watching, I say practice squad injury. I'm doing the finger quotes where, oh yeah, he's injured, where you can keep him and stash him without a team picking him up. It might be risky to put him on the practice squad, but it wouldn't be unheard of, even especially with the 5th rounder. The Chiefs did it with Cornell Powell, if I'm not mistaken. He was a 5th rounder and placed on the practice squad, and he was not picked up. BJ Thompson's so raw. Not many teams could keep him on their active roster to begin with, right? Because the Chiefs are in a good position. They're Super Bowl champions. they can afford to have some developmental guys in the practice squad and maybe even the back end of their active roster. I think probably, again, injury or practice squad is most likely.
Yeah. I'm with you. We're going to get to the 6th and the 7th round here, but just want to remind everyone, if you're listening or wherever you're at, however you're taking in the Arrowhead Addict podcast, boy, we love any sort of reviews you can give us. If you're watching on YouTube, if you can subscribe with the button at the top, give us a thumbs up. These little things go a long way toward helping us, be able to get the word out, do what we do. And of course, we do what we do because it's fun to do it with you all. So we just appreciate the ways that you all support, and those are further ways to support. And yeah, just wanted to get that out there. Number 6, Sterling, Keonte Coburn, Texas defensive tackle. We've talked a lot about the edge, but the interior is kind of a whole different animal. What do you make of this pick and what he adds in the 6th?
He might get the most snaps this year from any rookie. No, but seriously, and that might be a good thing. Again, it shows how deep the Chiefs are overall as a team. Again, the reason why I've been so, bearish on the rookies, I'm excited by them, but not this year because the Chiefs are so deep. That's a good thing. Yeah. They can sit and learn and grow. I'm happy about this. But Coburn, they're going to rotate a lot of defensive line players in, especially in the interior. If Chris Jones kicks out, he's a run stuffer. We didn't see a ton of growth last year from Derek Nottie, and quite frankly, Derek Nottie may have even taken a step back. If Derek Nottie's not your guy, you're probably looking at Coburn. He might even be a starter. That would not shock me one bit. Turk Wharton, I think, is obviously in the equation as well. But if you see week 4, week 5, and you didn't see Derek Nottie take a step forward, don't be shocked if you see Keonte Coburn right there inserted in the starting lineup. That's what I'm going with.
Boy, that's a good – I mean, I like it. I like his addition. You know what I don't like? I mean, for all the discussion we're having about will the Chiefs add a veteran edge rusher, I'm sitting here going, you don't even have to ask if you need one in the middle. Go get one already. Like, I don't care who it is, but we need someone there who's not Danny Shelton or –
He's a human house. Come on. That was pretty cool.
I mean, last year the Chiefs went out and signed Brandon Williams off the street.
Taylor Stallworth.
And he immediately got into rotation for a Super Bowl team. Like, I mean, I'm nothing against Brandon Williams. Clearly he was known, by the Chiefs D-line coach, Joe Cullen, from their days at the Ravens. But like, if a guy can kind of come in off the street in week 16 for a Super Bowl winner and offer you quality run defense reps or needed ones, then you gotta address it in a major way this offseason. The Chiefs wanted to trade up in the draft to address this spot in the first round, right? I mean, if we've all heard the rumors and no one's really debunked them at all that they were going to go get Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. So I would love to see another addition here. I'm with you. I like Coburn. At the very least, he's going to get playing time that a lot of these young guys are going to be hungry for because of the position he plays.
I see it, but I'm not as nervous about the interior, the D-line as you, because one, Chris Jones. So you're really looking for one spot for the majority of the time. And when Chris Jones kicks out, I think you're going to see Charles Omenihu play on the inside.
Sure.
So I think Mike Dana, we saw him in the NASCAR package playing the inside last year.
Yep.
I'm not quite as nervous because of how Spagnuolo runs his defense. It's like why I'm not worried that actually the Chiefs linebacking core is pretty darn good. Let's be real now, but they don't run a 4-3. They're almost never in base package, so it doesn't matter, right? To an extent, it doesn't matter about bringing in another veteran. Again, maybe I'm being a little naive here, but I'm cool with Derek Nottie. Maybe he bounces back. I'm cool with Turk Wharton. He showed a little bit, but he's been, frankly, perpetually injured. Love Chris Jones, and I just like the versatility of the rest of the D-line presents, and also the rookie Keonte Coburn. I'm pretty thrilled with the depth the Chiefs have right now.
Well, I hope you're right. Angry Drunken German says the hate on my guy Noddy. He had a down year. He'll bounce back. Look, I'll say this, and I'm sure you would agree with me, Sterling. If Derek Noddy has a great year, like I'm so glad to stand and applaud. I mean, like, no one wants to see anyone have a down year, and we'd love for anyone to have a great year, and
I want Joe Burrow to have a down year. I'll go ahead and say it. I'll admit it. I want Joe Burrow to have a down year.
Wait, Joe who? Who's that? Yeah. No, I get it. And by the way, Derek Noddy, if we're talking Derek Noddy, stand-up dude who does a ton for needy animals, pet population, just a great civic guy.
Yeah, he's a badass.
He is, man. He is. I mean, yeah. So, anyway, we shouldn't have to offer such disclaimers, but we usually, like, these things become simplified down and like he sucks or he's good, and it's just not true.
No.
But yeah, 7th round pick. Let's wrap this up. Nic Jones, defensive back, Ball State, was looking pretty sharp in OTAs. Last year, we saw 7th round pick cornerback rise up and grab a starting spot. What are you making of Nic Jones in 23?
I'm intrigued, man. How is it? It's hard not to be intrigued. How many late round cornerbacks have made an impact for the Kansas City Chiefs and their defense? It's astronomical. So you have L'Jarius, you have Trent McDuffie, but I don't think Joshua Williams or Jalen Watson is necessarily set in stone. You never know about the sophomore slump, if you will. I think Nic Jones gets some run this year. Yeah. I talked to Jalen Watson at the Marquez Valdez-Scantling charity event, right? And I was like, man, you went from 7th rounder to Super Bowl champion. You played and made an impact in a Super Bowl as a 7th rounder. What were expectations for you, going to OTAs and minicamp and training camp? He goes, to be honest, I was just trying to make the team. I a lot of times your players, I want to be I plan on being an all-pro. I plan, they try and pump the, he's like, I was a 7th rounder. I wanted to make the roster. I wanted to make the team. And he made the team. And I think Nic Jones, though, it's a great story because the Chiefs have shown that if you're drafted, doesn't matter where you're drafted, if you can play, you'll get playing time. Rashad Fenton, 6th rounder, played in a Super Bowl, right? Jalen Watson, 7th rounder, played in a Super Bowl. Travarius Ward was undrafted. I mean, if there's any team that if you are a secondary piece and you're drafted or you come to Kansas City and you don't know what you are, they'll find it and turn you into something. That has to be at least some confidence there. That has to give the player some confidence. And all right, I have a chance. Might not be a great chance, but I have a chance. So I think Nic Jones has a chance to at least make some impact this year. Not a ton, but I think he makes the roster.
I agree with you on every count there. And I'll just add this. A smart team would put a bookmark over Dave Merritt of the Chiefs, secondary coach for the Chiefs, as a defensive coordinator to interview. If I'm scouting if I'm in the front office for a team, I'm making sure that I'm keeping good tabs on him, and I'd rather hire him too early than miss out on him too late. The proof is just already in the pudding. There's no way around the fact that he is an excellent teacher of the game of football and getting guys to do what they want them to do. Like DeMeco Ryans kind of guy. They talk so highly about his ability to, hey, the way he teaches the game of football is why his players play as well as they do. They know what they're doing. And Dave Merritt seems to have that same skill set.
Yes, I love that. I love skill sets.
Dude, you have a nice silsket, by the way. Richard does too. Yeah. Anyway, Tungsten says, "Great show, guys. Good to see you back, Matt. Good luck with the red light Rona. Goose, bring back the mustache."
Wow. I thought I looked good, clean shaven. Take a poll, Richard. Swing on in here. Come on in here, bud.
Richard,
come on now.
Give us the good stuff, Richard. I left all of it in Scandinavia.
Is he just not going to come in, or?
You guys just asked for a poll. I'm working here. All right.
Yeah, I was
All
going
right?
to ask for the poll now. Now you can understand. Should I have was I better with or without the mustache? Like, I don't know how to word this. It's like I talk for a living or something.
I feel
should
like
I or should I not have the stash?
Gotcha. Coming right up. All right, everyone's got to vote on this poll, please.
It's very important business.
what do you call it? Do you say do you mustache or do you must?
I must ask you a question.
We mustache or we must not stash? Maybe that's it.
Dude, I love that this show just always goes to shit at the very end. It's incredible.
This is awful.
By the way, mustache breaks down into the words must ache. Maybe that's why you get rid of it. You're like, after a while, it must ache, and I got to shave it off.
This show was a mistake. That's what we're gonna go with. Richard, what is? Don't be upset. Don't look like I don't know. You look sad, Matt. I'll let you go first, Connor. Connor, you're back. The must list. It's time. We've missed it without you. What do you have for our must list?
Hey, so the must list is our part of every show where we break down, just recommending something we think that all of you should know. I'll just, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to say this. Denmark. Denmark's on my must list, which seems silly, except, look, I never thought of going to Denmark, but I subscribe to this service called Scotch Cheap Flights. You pay like $20 a year, and they send you these emails. You tell them, like, these are the airports I'm willing to fly out of, and these are the areas of the world I want to go see. And then they send you, like, mistake fares. So, like, my whole family, my wife, myself, my son, we all went to, like, Geneva, Switzerland a couple years ago for $1,000. It was like $300 per ticket. And then this one, this one, we got tickets to Copenhagen for like $400. So it was like, man, if you can go to Europe as cheap as it is to go to the West Coast, let's do it. So we went. We couldn't believe how beautiful it was. Denmark's pretty sweet country. By the way, if you get injured there, you get taken care of because it's all like, it's like healthcare is actually.
Did you get hurt there or something?
No, I'm just saying I could have been. Yeah. And they call it the happiest country on earth. The sun came up at like 3:30 in the morning and then like went down at like 10:30 at night. It was like, it's bananas trying to sleep in that. But
you know
also,
how much golf I could get done in that?
Dude, yeah.
How many rounds I could get? I'm playing 72 holes a day.
Dude, by the way, we went to this Viking ship museum and it was like, yeah, I got like a hat with like big horns on it, and yeah, I don't know, it's lame. Anyway,
I think you'd like this story, man. I was on a golf trip at the Ozarks this past weekend, and this might be the most Ozarks thing I've ever had happen to me. I was checking out of the resort we were staying at for the golf trip, and when I was checking out, they had to take our name because they had crossed us off a list or something. They're like, "What's your name?" I go, "Sterling Holmes." The lady at the front desk is about 50. She started the story off by saying she was out late last night partying with her daughter. So that's always a good start, saying she's hammered because she was out with her daughter last night. Or she's a little hungover, but it's fine. She was there. Good for her. Proceeded to say, after I said, "My name's Sterling Holmes," "I like that name." I said, "Thanks." She said, "It's a rich and sexy name." And I said, "Thank you. Here's my credit card. Check me out, but not check me out that way, please. Don't check me out that way." And I'm gonna bail. But I was just so caught off guard. I don't know what I've been supposed to say in that situation.
You could have went partying with both the mom and the daughter. It sounds
No.
like a family deal. Is that common in the Ozarks? Like a family?
I don't know. I was out.
Richard says we're all going south. He's done with us.
We're not going south. We're not. This is a good show. This is a good show. But my must list is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden.
That's my favorite Maiden.
Is it really?
Love it.
1988. That's your
Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. Seventh Son of the Seventh Son.
Can I play with madness? The clairvoyant.
Play with madness. Yeah,
that
dude.
was great. Yeah, it was killer.
Love it.
You liked it better than Power Slave and peace of mind. And
Why you have to talk down? I'm just backing up.
I'm not
your
talking
choice.
down.
I'm backing up your choice, and you're like, wait, you like that album? I'm like, you're the one who just
I
brought
like
it
it
up.
all, baby. I like it all. 777 Son, Iron Maiden, 1988. Listen to it. It's killer. Bruce Dickinson's a badass.
Richard, mute this guy. What's going on?
I've been trying, and the button just doesn't work. I'm sorry, guys.
What's yours, Richard?
All right. The FCC contacted me recently. They said all of my must lifts have been like really heinous, and it's not safe for a lot of adults and children, obviously. So we're making kind of an effort to recommend some child-friendly stuff. I'm going to recommend Paddington 1 and 2. Amazing film. If no one's ever thought to watch the British bear who eats the marmalade sandwich movie, it's really good. I thought it was going to be like some dumb CGI Marmaduke thing where like the CGI animal does silly things, and the actors are just pretending there's someone there, and it's really stupid, but it's genuinely a heartfelt, funny film starring a CGI bear. So yeah, and the second one's better than the first one. How does that even happen for a movie like this? So yeah, check out Paddington 1 and 2, and take that FCC. We're gonna talk about something really bad next week.
I love it.
Yeah.
Richard, that I find that endearing. But I think Sterling finds that just amusing.
Well, I assume there was some enhancers to make Paddington Bear 1 and 2 very
Not at
enjoyable
all.
for Richard.
I had a marmalade sandwich, and that's all I had. It was not infused. It did not come with Scandinavian extras. Red light district funniness. No.
Boys, we're back. In the
That's
words
good.
of Thin Lizzy, the boys are back in town. Matt Conner, it's great to have you back. Richard, we'll get out before the FCC tries to shut us down and YouTube tries to take us off this platform. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening, for hanging out with us. I hope you guys like this show. I hope you guys like the must list, the Chiefs talk. I hope you guys like Matt Conner being back. I will be doing the Arrowhead Addict podcast tomorrow with Adam Best from 4:30 to 5:30. I will also be filling in for Patrick on the Thursday podcast show with none other than Matt Verderam. 4:30 to 5:30 Thursday. Check it out, everyone. Until next time, we are out.